Tomo News presents World's Worst Workplace Accidents.
Upstate New York teen's arm cut all the way off by the pasta machine at work. Real homemade style Italian pasta just has that special something. And on Saturday night at Violi's restaurant in Messina, New York, that special something was the arm and fingers of a 17-year-old boy. High school student Brett Bouchard was cleaning the pasta machine in Violi's Italian restaurant just around closing time on Saturday night. Brett's worked at Violi since 2012, and one presumes it wasn't his first time cleaning the machine. But somehow the machine became activated and severed Brett's right arm above the elbow. Diners Michael and Joanne Walsh, who were still finishing their meal when it happened, told local news, "I don't want to talk about it." Bouchard was rushed to the emergency room in serious condition. He's undergone several operations to reattach his arm, but Brett's family won't comment on the teen's prognosis. Meanwhile, Violi's is open for business again, and happy hours are back every Friday at 6.
Bumblebee Foods charged over death of worker killed in cooker. San Diego-based food manufacturer Bumblebee and 2 managers were charged with violating safety regulations after a worker was cooked to death in a pressure cooker in 2012. Jose Molina, aged 62, was doing maintenance work on a 35-foot-long pressure cooker at Bumblebee Foods' Santa Fe Springs plant before dawn on October 11, 2012. Assuming Molina was in the bathroom, another worker turned on the cooker after filling it with 12,000 pounds of tuna. The temperature reached 270 degrees. After realizing Molina was missing, a supervisor asked workers to look for Molina through an intercom announcement. Workers also searched the parking lot. Molina's body was found in the cooker after it was turned off. Bumblebee Foods is facing a maximum fine of $1.5 million. If convicted of all charges, the 2 managers could receive maximum sentences of 3 years in prison.
A man has died after he fell into an Oregon meat processing plant on Saturday night. 41-year-old cleaner Hugo Avalos Channon was at work shortly before midnight at Interstate Meat Distributors in Clackamas County. He and other employees of DCS Sanitation Management were cleaning the plant's equipment. It's believed Channon climbed onto a running meat blender before he slipped and fell in. Why he attempted to work while the machine was still running is unclear. Workmates heard the accident and raced to hit the emergency stop button in the hope of saving his life, but they were too late. Channon died almost instantly. The fire department was called at 11:45 p.m. to attend an obvious death incident, meaning there was no way the man could have survived his injuries. The facility has been the site of other accidents and violations, including a 2005 incident in which an employee lost a finger.
A 38-year-old track worker at the Canadian Grand Prix was killed on Sunday evening when he was accidentally run over by a mobile crane close to the end of the race. The worker was one of 2 men escorting the crane that was hoisting a Sauber car that had hit the wall at turn 2. The recovery vehicle was returning to the pits when the worker dropped his radio and stumbled as he tried to pick it up. The crane operator didn't see the worker fall and continued driving. The worker was hit, then run over by the recovery vehicle. The worker was transported by helicopter to the hospital where he later succumbed to his injuries.
Bat boy dies after getting hit by baseball player's practice swing. A bat boy for a Kansas amateur baseball team died over the weekend after being struck by a player in a tragic accident. A player for the Liberal BJ Summer team was taking practice swings during a National Baseball Congress World Series game against the San Diego Waves in Wichita, Kansas on Saturday, when his team's bat boy, Kaiser Carlisle, began running toward Lawrence Dumont Stadium's home plate to retrieve a bat. Not noticing the boy, the unidentified player, who was practicing near the on-deck circle, reportedly swung and accidentally struck Kaiser. The follow-through warm-up swing reportedly hit the 9-year-old on the head. Despite wearing a helmet, Kaiser suffered severe head injuries and was hospitalized in critical condition before eventually succumbing to the injury on Sunday evening. Tributes for Kaiser, a self-proclaimed Bee Gees superfan, came pouring in through social media, such as this one by college baseball player Marshall Rich, who said, quote, "A deep sadness for the baseball world. 9-year-old bat boy, Kaiser Carlisle, was killed when hit by a bat. Keep in prayer." Saying it was what Kaiser would have wanted, the BJs opted to continue playing and won the incredibly emotional game 12-5 in 13 arduous innings.
Cirque du Soleil advertises its performance of Ka as a spectacular tale that defies the laws of gravity. The illusion was shattered Saturday night when a talented acrobatic artist fell tragically to her death during a performance in Las Vegas. The performer, 31-year-old Sarah Gaillard-Guillot, was taking part in the final dramatic battlefield scene of the show's famed vertical stage when reports say she somehow slipped from her wire. She fell about 50 feet into the pit below. It was the first onstage death Cirque has experienced in its 30-year history. Cirque's performance of Ka is famous for its hydraulic-controlled stage and its Wheel of Death. Gaillard-Guillot, a mother of two, was part of the show's original cast since 2006 and has been an acrobatic performer for more than 20 years. Founder of Cirque du Soleil, Guy Laliberté, expressed his sympathies to the artist family, saying he was heartbroken, adding that we are reminded with great humility and respect how extraordinary our artists are each and every night.
Dead waitress found inside a dumbwaiter. Brooke Bowers, a member of the Winona State University gymnastics team, was found dead Monday night. Her body was stuffed inside a dumbwaiter at the Wingdam Saloon and Grill in Fountain City, Wisconsin. Bowers was an employee at the restaurant and was working at the time of the accident. Investigators are still trying to figure out exactly how she ended up inside the dumbwaiter. Although it's possible that foul play led to Bowers' death, police say they don't suspect criminal activity. We're not sure if Bowers was horsing around or actually working when she became stuck in the 3x3-foot carriage. The food elevator was normally used to transport food between the first and second floors. Employees called the Buffalo County Sheriff's Department around 8 p.m. when they found the gymnast's lifeless body. Bowers was a 21-year-old social work major, scheduled to graduate in 2015.
Circus acrobat plummets to his death in front of audience. An acrobat plunged 35 feet to the stage below after a circus stunt went horribly wrong in southern Brazil. Wilson Gomez Barreto was midway through a risky routine for the Tihani Spectacular Troupe in Londrina on May 18th. Soaring through the air, the 28-year-old suddenly flew out of his swinging carriage, missing the safe landing zone, and plummeted onto the stage beneath. Co-workers rushed to the scene, but Barreto initially only complained of a broken elbow. When he was taken to a nearby hospital, however, he discovered he was also suffering from swelling in the brain. He eventually succumbed to his injuries and died 2 days later on May 20th.
Florida man dies after falling into wood chipper. A horrifying accident occurred when a landscaper was killed after falling into a wood chipper in Davie, Florida on Monday afternoon. The unidentified victim and two co-workers were clearing brush. Then somehow the landscaper slipped and fell into the powerful industrial wood chipper. Neighbors witnessed one of the workers run over to where the other worker was cutting up branches in obvious distress. Not long after, police arrived and blocked off the area. Davie police delicately cleaned up the scene and collected the victim's remains. The death is under investigation, however, authorities do not suspect any foul play.
Michael Dwayne Atkins, a maintenance worker at Decatur Morgan Hospital in Alabama, was working with two colleagues on a sump pump in the shaft of a freight elevator close to the emergency room but away from public view. Without warning, the hydraulic elevator gave way. Atkins is believed to have died instantly from injuries to his chest and back, according to the Morgan County coroner. The Alabama Department of Labor and local police are conducting an investigation to determine the cause of the deadly accident.
Nevada cryo chamber salon manager freezes to death in mysterious accident. There are an infinite number of ways to die, but not many are more horrible than the manner in which young Hawaiian native Chelsea Ake died last week. Ake, 24, froze to death in a bizarre accident involving a cryo chamber at the Henderson, Nevada branch of Rejuvenis, where she was the manager. The exact circumstances of what caused her death are still a mystery. But what investigators do know is that Ake was alone after closing up the store for the night. They also know that she then got into the machine for some reason and did not turn it off. The recommended time inside a cryochamber, which is used to treat ailments including sore muscles and inflammation, is around 3 minutes. But somehow Ake ended up spending around 10 hours inside the machine, where the temperature can reach as low as minus 240 degrees Fahrenheit. One of her colleagues discovered her body inside the machine the next day. Whether Ake accidentally locked herself inside the machine or it malfunctioned in some way is unknown, although a police report stated Ake probably suffocated and listed operator error as the cause of death.
Utah zipline worker plummets 150 feet to his death. A new employee at a zipline in Utah died on Tuesday while trying to assist a rider. The accident happened at the 2,500-foot-long Utah Kanab zipline, which carries riders at heights of up to 350 feet and speeds of up to 35 miles per hour. Daniel Gilly, who started work at the Kanab resort on Monday, was in charge of helping zipline riders land securely. At around 11 a.m., a rider zipped down to the finish too fast and bounced backwards up the mountainside. Gilly jumped onto the rider to try and secure him, but instead both were pushed back up the line. He went careening up the line unsecured while holding on to the rider, but eventually lost his grip about 100 feet from the landing deck and fell. Witnesses performed CPR on Gilly at the scene but could not resuscitate him.
Robot kills worker in Germany at Volkswagen plant. The end of the human race could be upon us, after a technician was killed by a robot at a Volkswagen plant in Germany. The 22-year-old technician was part of a team that was setting up a stationary robot at a plant about 100 kilometers north of Frankfurt. He was installing the robot with a colleague when it grabbed him and crushed him against a metal plate. The technician was standing inside the safety cage when the accident occurred. The other worker was outside the cage and was not hurt. Volkswagen stressed that the robot wasn't one of the new generation collaborative robots that work next to the workers on the line without safety cages. But is Volkswagen really telling the truth? What happened to Asimov's laws? Could this be the start of the end of humanity as we know it? Volkswagen said initial investigations indicate that human error was to blame, rather than a robot malfunction.
U.S. Navy SEAL killed in parachute training accident. A U.S. Navy SEAL was killed in a parachute training accident on Wednesday morning. A Navy SEAL based in Coronado was killed in a parachute training accident near Paris in Southern California. The SEAL was taking part in a training exercise with a group of other SEALs when his parachute reportedly malfunctioned. He died at the scene. The incident is currently under investigation.
2 British men and their Russian guide died while on a fishing expedition in Russia's Murmansk region on Sunday morning after being struck by their helicopter's rotor. The 5-seater Eurocopter E-120B aircraft landed at a luxury fishing campsite in the country's remote Kola Peninsula around 11 a.m. The pilot unloaded the passengers close to the Redna River and began to take off. According to one report, a strong gust of wind might have caused the chopper to tilt, causing the craft's rotor blade to strike the men, killing them. The pilot issued a distress signal immediately after the accident. The pilot survived but suffered minor injuries.
Air India technician dies after being sucked into engine. An Air India service engineer was killed when he was sucked into the engine of an aircraft at Mumbai Airport on Wednesday night. Air India Flight 619 en route to Hyderabad from Mumbai was being pushed back from the parking bay before takeoff. At around 8:40 p.m., an eyewitness said it appeared the co-pilot mistook a signal as clearance for departure and started the engine. A service engineer who was standing nearby and supervising the pullback was pulled into the engine and died instantly. The technician, identified as Ravi Subramanian, was in his 50s. His job included disconnecting the pushcart from the aircraft before it moves towards the runway. Sources said the A319 aircraft's auxiliary power unit was not working. Without the APU system, one of the engines must be started with an external power source before the pushback. Once the aircraft is pushed back, the live engine has to be revved up for the other engine to start. Air India chairman Ashwani Lohani described the accident as a mishap, but it's not yet clear what happened. The incident is under investigation.
Factory in Pakistan collapses, leaving at least 18 dead. At least 18 people are dead and up to 150 are believed to be trapped under rubble after a factory collapsed on Wednesday near Lahore, Pakistan. The collapse happened at a shopping bag factory located around 20 kilometers south of Lahore. The entire 4-story building went down during the collapse. Hundreds of rescue workers, together with army personnel and engineers, arrived at the scene. An emergency was declared at all local hospitals. 18 bodies have been recovered, together with 75 injured. However, around 150 are believed to be still trapped underneath the rubble. It's unclear what caused the collapse, but there had been some construction work at the factory prior to the incident. The accident also comes less than a fortnight after a 7.5 magnitude earthquake hit the country, killing 390 people.
5-story building collapsed in Bangladesh, 7 dead. At least 7 people were killed after the roof of a 5-story building collapsed on Thursday in Bangladesh. At least 180 workers were working in the Sena Kalyan Sangsta factory when the roof collapsed, trapping workers underneath. Rescue workers recovered 6 bodies during the first 12 hours of the search. 1 more body was recovered on Friday. More than 60 people in total were reported injured. Bangladesh is known for its poor record for building safety. The cause of the collapse is still under investigation.